New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
What if the person you think you are is just a fraction of who you truly are? What if years of conditioning and surviving in a challenging world have left you clinging to strategies and beliefs that mask your truest nature? I'm Catherine Duca, psychotherapist and self-esteem coach, and you're listening to Who Do You Think You Are? A show that looks beneath our psychological masks and uncovers our profoundly messy, beautiful, brilliant, tender-hearted essence. Join me as we go in search of the hidden power of our true selves. I'm so glad you're here. And when I say I am so glad you're here, I really, really mean it. Welcome everyone to Who Do You Think You Are? A podcast that teaches you how to have the highest regard for yourself, how to live from a place of genuine self-respect and self-love, and how to make yourself a priority in your own life. I'm so glad you're meeting me here each week for curated tips and strategies designed to help you drop your psychological mask, or at least loosen it a bit, connect with your truest essence, and simply live more easily. Because we know that when we approach life in this way, we naturally have more generosity for others, more room, and more love for one another. And isn't that a beautiful thing? So I welcome you. I welcome all my self-love builders, all wide receivers, and all red carpet walkers for tonight. Tonight, you're red carpet walkers. Why? Because, of course, tonight the Oscars are on and you're choosing to be here with me, and I am so honored. And what goes along with being a red carpet walker, I believe, is that each of us is, the lead. Each of us is the lead character in our own lives. Each of us lives a storyline. And the more we live the storyline according to consciousness, I think the better our lives are, and the more flow there is, and the more love that comes to us and through us. So tonight we are all red carpet walkers. Tonight, I think, is a very interesting conversation. The title of the talk tonight is, I want this, but I do that. I want this, but I do that. What does that mean? Well, actually, I'm going to start with an antidote. You may be relieved to know, those of you who were with me last week, there are no eggs in this conversation tonight. We have just, it's an egg-free zone. But to start with an anecdote, I would say if you were to take a survey of 100 people and ask them what they want most in life, what their overarching goal or desire is, I think the vast majority would say happiness. I want to be happy. I want my family to be happy. I want my children to be happy. Happiness. And then I think if you followed up with the next question, well, are you happy? I dare say that the majority of those people would say, sadly, I'm not happy. Now, there are many reasons. It's a complex topic. There are many reasons why we might not be happy. And we need to define happiness in the first place. But I would say that in my experience working with clients over 3+ decades is This is a main reason. I think it's because people say they want one thing in life. They have one goal, one desire, one dream, but they do something else. They behave in a way or take actions in a way that not only do not bring them closer to actually having their dream or their goal or their desire, but in truth brings them much further away. So I call that being at cross purposes with ourselves. We very much want something. We can't stop thinking about it. We love to daydream about how our lives would be if we could reach this goal. And yet, if we examine our day to day, what we find is that the actions we take are not in alignment with what we say we want. So many people call this self-sabotage. Of course, that's a widely accepted term. I prefer to call it we're at odds with ourselves. We're at cross purposes. Want one thing, but behave in a way that brings us something else, usually something completely opposite or contradictory to what we say we want. So it got me thinking, what are the reasons for this? Why do we get in our own way? Why do we trip ourselves up when the thing we desire most is the thing we desire most? So this conversation is about what does living at cross purposes actually look like? Well, the definition of self-sabotage, of course, if you do a quick Google search, you will find that it says it's an underhanded, an interesting term, an underhanded interference with a pursuit. An underhanded interference with a pursuit. Underhanded means you can't quite spot it. It's occurring, but it's going on below your awareness. Another definition, it's an undermining of a cause. Undermining of a cause. So it's when we do something, say something, act in a way that runs counter to our stated goals. So as we go through this conversation tonight, I invite you to, give some thought to where in your life might you have a dream, but you find yourself acting in a way that does not bring that dream about. Something interesting happens actually in our brains when we're at cross purposes. When we think about what we want and we sort of daydream, and I think daydreaming is important. It's a type of, daydreams can actually go in two directions, but I would say a constructive type of daydreaming is when we are visualizing our desire, when we look at it, when we notice how we feel, when we embody the feeling of success or joy that we know we would have an experience if we were to reach our goal. When we do that, our brain releases a bit of dopamine. And as you no doubt know, dopamine is a feel-good hormone. So, oh yeah, I really want to do that. I really want to start that business. I really want to start dating the right people. I really want to bring more friendship into my life. I want to travel, whatever the case may be. But that requires certain things of me. And therein lies the conundrum. Because oftentimes the things that going after our goals requires of us are things that might be scary, things that might be uncomfortable, things that might feel like too much of a risk. And so when we get into that, those kinds of thoughts, what happens? Our brain, first of all, goes into a bit of fight or flight. Now, it's low level. It's not anything that, you're being chased by a tiger. It's not like that. It's much more. It's much more. It's more of a whisper, but it's there nevertheless. So the dopamine of, oh, this would be a wonderful thing if I could achieve this, collides actually with the chemicals that originate from the part of the brain that is there to protect us from threats. And that part of the brain, the hypothalamus, the amygdala, releases other kinds of chemicals, adrenaline, cortisol, which are meant to get us through a threatening experience. So we have a collision, if you will, of chemical waves. The dopamine collides with the adrenaline or the cortisol, and it can feel overwhelming. And it's a known fact that we human beings will do more to avoid pain. How interesting is this? We'll do more to avoid pain than we will to bring about pleasure. And in the mind, and by the way, the whole role of, we have three brains, and one of the brains is the reptilian brain, and it's there to keep us safe, right? It's there to help us procreate and keep us out of danger. And everything we do is to keep us comfortable. Everything in the unconscious part of the brain. I want to be specific when I say that. The unconscious part of the brain exists to keep us safe, comfortable, and in balance. It doesn't care about that we're not meeting our goals. It doesn't care that we're sad. It cares that we don't feel threatened. So, taken together, I invite you to, during this conversation, take a sort of aerial view of your own life and see if you can pinpoint what your goals are and what you do or don't do to try to meet those goals. What kind of action or inaction do you find yourself in? Because it's very important to be able to gauge whether you're moving toward or away from your goal. Okay, so with that, I notice we have some listeners in the chat. I want to say hello. Hi, Leandra from Knoxville. Wonderful good evening to you. I'm so glad you're here. Michelle V, I think we often have to look at the upside. We often have to look at the upside. The upside of what, Michelle? Would you mind adding to that? I'm not sure what you mean about the upside. And while you're doing that, I'll say hi to Judy, an important subject. I think it is. I think it is. So I'm going to think, Michelle, too, of the upside. So I want to give a couple of examples because we have the definition of, sorry, it came through without my finishing. Happens to me all the time, Michelle. So I'll be interested with part two of your message. But we know that self-sabotage is a tripping up, a going in reverse of our goals. But what does it actually look like psychologically, behaviorally in our lives? Well, in my email this morning, incidentally, if you'd like to receive it, just give me a quick email, Catherine@catherineduca.com. Put add me in the subject line, and you too will get a copy of the newsletter every Sunday morning at 5. So I listed a couple of examples. These are taken from my clients. Now, I want to mention a disclaimer. Whenever I mention anything about my clients, these are not my actual clients. My examples are more a composite. They're like an amalgam of the different people I work with, and I pull out what might be a common thread among my clients. So here we have. So I'm going to begin with Tara. Take Tara, for example. I do not have a client named Tara, but we'll take Tara. Okay. Tara really wants to date and hopefully marry a well-established professional man with whom she can enjoy a lovely lifestyle. In fact, one of the clients mixed into this composite told me she wants to date men who wear expensive jackets and ties. That's her vision. A well-established man who wears expensive suits. Okay. Who does Tara actually date? She dates men who have difficulty holding a job, men who have no savings to speak of, and men who look to her to foot the bill for dinners and even weekends away. So Tara daydreams about one kind of man, but actively dates a completely different type of man. Is Tara likely to meet her goal, to realize her dream if she stays on that track? Of course not. Next, McKenna. McKenna is a content creator who wants to start her own marketing business. What does she actually do? Well, she clings to the comfort of what she knows, a nearly toxic work environment where she is continually underappreciated and undercompensated. Underappreciated and undercompensated. She consistently finds excuses to delay taking action. She uses every weekend to get together with her friends instead of perhaps putting time into a business plan. Desperately wants to start her own business, daydreams about it, takes a dopamine bath in how wonderful it would be to have the autonomy of her own business, be her own boss, call her own shots. But what does she do? She goes in the opposite direction. Sean, he wants to get himself financially stable to one day purchase his own home, right? That's a great dream. What does Sean actually do? Well, he makes impulsive purchases. He dines out frequently while picking up the tab for rounds of drinks for his friends. And he charges expensive vacations on his credit card instead of making a plan to pay off his debt and save money. Here we have the polarization of, well, I want this, but I do that. A couple more. Lisette wants to find a good partner. She wants to really settle down in a long-term relationship and start a family. Beautiful goal. What she actually does, however, is engages in casual dating and hookups. Come on, Lisette. Prioritizes attraction, chemistry over emotional connection, and avoids vulnerability. So, Lisette, doesn't have an unlimited amount of time, but this is how she's spending it. No judgment. We're going to look into what might make Lisette do this. And finally, Monica. Monica wants to leave what she describes as a loveless marriage of 11 years. Marriage counseling revealed that her husband has no interest in working on the relationship. And he said explicitly in couples counseling that he wasn't going to change anything on his end. If anything was going to change, it would have to be Monica. Not exactly a bowl of cherries. What does Monica actually do? Well, she holds on to this relationship while contemplating having an affair with a coworker, a married coworker. Can you envision the drama train coming down that track? Okay. Now, Monica, a composite of my clients, we can assume, is an intelligent woman. She knows what's going on, but still this behavior. She has yet to realize that her deepest fear is her fear of being alone. And interestingly, beneath that fear is the belief that she is unlovable. So if you have ever found yourself wanting something, but for some mysterious reason, in air quotes, you worked against your own desires, you know you have a lot of company. Okay. Now, let me go back to the chat here. Michelle, welcome. Okay. I often believe that when we sabotage, there is an upside, which sounds crazy, because why do that to yourself? But if there was not an upside of sorts, we may not engage in the behavior. Well, absolutely. Now that I know what you're referring to, Michelle, I agree 100%. There is an upside. The upside is not in the realm of your conscious knowing. The upside is in the realm of your unconscious. Well, what do I mean by that? I mean that no one intentionally sets out to sabotage their success, right? Often, though, the sabotage stems from unconscious fears, past traumatic events, or ingrained negative patterns. These hidden motivations are what drives us to date the wrong people or engage in unproductive behavior. Why? Because everything makes sense. And Michelle, here's your upside. Everything makes sense in the unconscious. So if, let's say, someone wants to earn more money, Sean wants to earn more money, all well and good. But what if Sean received mixed messages growing up about money and currently, unbeknownst to him, is ambivalent about having money? What if he was raised with the belief that money is the root of all evil? What if he heard his parents argue about money and say, money is a problem. You have it, then you lose it, and you're worse off. Money is a problem. People might want something from you. If someone has negative ideas or negative associations with money, the unconscious latches onto that and says, upside, I'm not going to let you have money. I'm going to steer you in a direction where, sure, you'll want money, but you don't have to worry about those concerns because I'm going to make you engage in behavior that's going to guarantee you're not going to get money. So you don't have to worry about the downside. So, Michelle, is this what you mean? All right. In the unconscious, everything we do has an upside. I'm going to say something even pretty radical. Even people who struggle with addiction, and you know all the circumstances that can surround addiction. Addiction, people who, over drink, over smoke, overspend, overeat, they're trying to quell some pain. They're trying to anesthetize some hurt. They're trying to make themselves maybe fill a void. So in the realm of the unconscious, that's the upside. But in actual life, it's a tremendous downside, isn't it? Because you don't reach your goal. And equally, you're perplexed. The people I see are very perplexed. What's wrong with me? Why can't I do it? I try so hard. I'm so busy. Oftentimes, and I've experienced this, I feel so busy. There was a time I would really procrastinate doing the things I had to do to meet my goals. But I was so busy in my head. I was so busy planning. I was so busy enjoying the fruits of my labor. I was so busy trying to problem solve. But did I do any of the things I needed to do? Not necessarily. I would prepare myself. I would sit down. I would make a cup of tea. Sometimes I would even light a candle. And then I would get this overwhelming urge to clean out a junk drawer, not a drunk drawer. Did I say that? A junk drawer, or file my nails, or do something else that seemed urgently important. And then I was too tired to do what I had to do. I used up too much time. So unconscious fears and motivations. Let me go to Dawn. Dawn, a mentor of mine says we need to have courage to pursue our dreams while accepting it may show up different than we envisioned or wanted. If we could practice that mindset, we'd eliminate most self-sabotage. Well, Dawn, do you think this gets at the notion of show up different than no, I was going to say impermanence. Not exactly. It's the idea of not being attached to outcome. we know what we want, and I do think that's important. And we sort of put our order into the universe. And we go about our business behaving in as to the best we can in alignment with that goal. But then you're right. We have to allow that the desire, once met, may show up in a different form than we envisioned. So I think that's an important thing. Don't be so attached to outcome. Thanks, Dawn. Janine, welcome. Welcome. I think I know what Michelle is getting at. There must be something we're getting out of not behaving in alignment with our goals. There is some kind of payoff, and it can be hard to identify. And I see you also wrote, it keeps us in our comfort zone. Absolutely, which is all the unconscious cares about. And all that part of the brain is concerned about safety above all else. Let me see if I'm getting to everyone. Just Judy, I think Janine is correct about comfort zone. Yeah, Michelle agrees. Yes. Yes, I love this crosstalk and conversations. Really, who needs the Oscars, right? Okay. So, we're getting long. You know what? Let's take a little break. And when we come back, I'm going to talk about some other unconscious fears and motivations. I'm going to look at briefly fear of failure, fear of success, and fear of losing control. All right. So get yourself a warm beverage, take a few minutes, and meet me back here. You're listening to Who Do You Think You Are on New Thought Media Network. Stay with me.
Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors, including the Hefferland Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity Kitchener, Unity Spiritual Center, Ottawa, Om Center for Spiritual Living, Satya Center, Begin Within Ministries, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and the Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. Thank you for being part of the New Thought Media Network. Please like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring.
Welcome to Science of Mind Archives, your gateway to spiritual wisdom. Join us for our grand opening gala. Experience a weekend of inspiration. Enjoy a ribbon-cutting ceremony, a gala dinner and workshops, plus a labyrinth walk and town hall. Connect with a community of seekers. Explore spiritual teachings and resources. Find your path to personal growth. Join us from April 24th to 27th. Lodging options are still available. Visit our website www.scienceofmindarchives.com for more details. Please RSVP by March 15th. Featuring Reverend Jesse Jennings, musical inspirations with Karen Drucker, and the spirit of Ernest Holmes. Come celebrate our new home at Unity Village, Lee's Summit, Missouri, and please visit www.scienceofmindarchives.com.
What if the person you think you are is just a fraction of who you truly are? What if years of conditioning and surviving in a challenging world have left you clinging to strategies and beliefs that mask your truest nature. I'm Catherine Duca, psychotherapist and self-esteem coach, and you're listening to Who Do You Think You Are? A show that looks beneath our psychological masks and uncovers our profoundly messy, beautiful, brilliant, tender-hearted essence. Join me as we go in search of the hidden power of our true selves. I'm so glad you're here. And welcome back. If you're just joining me, we are talking about a very interesting topic. We're talking about being at odds with our own selves, being at cross purposes, wanting a goal, having a desire, really wanting to achieve it, but for some reason, behaving in a way, doing things, taking steps that do not bring us closer to our goal, but actually puts us in reverse. And we had some great comments, and we're talking about the upside. You might not expect this, but the upside of avoiding meeting our goals. So we just went through that in the unconscious, the part of our mind that is always trying to keep us safe and balanced and comfortable, we do things to stay safe and comfortable and balanced. And if we don't identify that, we are kind of the tail being wagged. We're not really in control of it. So we're going to talk about now 3 common fears that trip us up. But before that, I forgot to mention, I came across a very beautiful quote from Muhammad Ali. And he said this. He said, quote, "It's not the mountains we're climbing that prevent us from achieving what we want. It's the pebble in our shoe." Close quote. Right? It's not the big mountain. Because probably in our vision of what we want, we picture, well, I have some things to do. But okay. But it's the pebble in our shoe. And sometimes that pebble, we become so, what's the word? Desensitized to it, so used to it, we don't really know it's there, but it's the pebble in our shoe, and it throws us off kilter. So let's look at fear of failure. Now, we hear about that all the time. What is fear of failure? Well, it's being afraid to fail, but that's just a word, being afraid to fail. And you might say, yeah, I know what that is. But what it looks like is, maybe I'm going to procrastinate. Maybe I'm going to, not read the material, whatever I have to read. I want to go for an interview, but maybe I've delayed acquainting myself with the material I need to know about the company I'm interviewing for. So fear of failure is demonstrated through this behavior that we may not know that it's in the service of our fear of failure. We might just call it, I ran out of time, or I'm overwhelmed, or I'll do it later. So for example, I was talking to someone the other day, not a client actually, but she had an important meeting that was going to be beneficial for her career. And what happened? She went to bed way too late. And not because she was anxious, but because she stayed up late watching a movie. She did not have gas in her car. She had to stop for gas in the morning. And lo and behold, she set her alarm incorrectly. She set it for PM instead of AM. And what do you think? She slept late, had to take a crazed shower, was running, and got to the interview less prepared than she should have been. Now, if I asked her, do you think you did those things because you were afraid to fail? No way. I wasn't afraid to fail. I just was busy. I just got distracted. The dog had to take the dog out. All of those things. That's what fear of failure looks like in the day-to-day. Now, I find this even more interesting than the fear of failure. This is the fear of success. The fear of success. Well, this one manifests as a worry that if we achieve success, there are going to be some downsides, Michelle. There are going to be some downsides. What will I have to do to maintain it? How hard will I have to work? What will I have to give up in my life? What if I have it and I lose it? What if people are envious of me? What if people judge me? So, those are the supports, if you will, that support this top level conundrum of fear of success. If I'm successful, I'll have to step out, right? Someone said comfort zone. I'll have to step out of my comfort zone. I will have to be more visible. I will have to feel a bit exposed. The answer is yes, you will. And so if that feels too scary, your unconscious is going to take you off the hook, not even give you anything to worry about. It's just going to throw these excuses that you're going to call, and I have called them, this excuse and that excuse. But I hope tonight's conversation helps you begin to link the two. I set my alarm incorrectly because I didn't get gas, because I waited till the last minute, because so-and-so. Because if I really step out, I might be judged. I might be criticized. And those are things that stop many of us in our tracks. All right, I saw more comments in the chat. Still Bill. Welcome, Bill. I'm still going to say aloha to you. I remember when I was trolling bars and picking up trash instead of looking for a quality person. Counterproductive and a waste of time. Right? Yeah. I always say, Bill, tell me if you agree with this. I always say waking up from a fog, waking up from these old patterns that we do habitually is not for the faint of heart. Because when you wake up and you get to a more productive place, invariably you have to also look at how you weren't there the whole time. You were in a different space, as Bill is sharing with us. So waking up has a little bit of ouch to it, a little bit of maybe wincing, a little bit of regret. But that's all part of moving forward. That's all part of, relinquishing those old patterns. So thank you, Bill, and thank you for sharing that part of your life with us. Very freeing. Dawn is, I think, saying to Michelle, very freeing indeed, but not particularly easy to attain. Well, let's talk about, thank you, Dawn. Let's talk about some things we can do to break the cycle of self-sabotage or being at cross purposes. Number one, recognizing this paradox is step number one and the most crucial step. Okay, so when you have a goal, or if you have a goal now, ask yourself, have my actions been bringing me closer or bringing me further away from the goal? From that aerial view, you can better gauge what you're doing. At eye level, it's hard to see because we're in our excuses. We're in our rationalizations. But up in that helicopter, we can look down and we can see, wow, I'm nowhere near my goal. I've taken myself away. So monitor yourself. When you notice yourself veering off course or going in reverse, ask yourself this simple question, but it's to redirect yourself. What is one thing I can do right now to move closer to my goal? Can I go to bed at a more reasonable time? Can I delay looking at the movie? Can I stop scrolling? Can I do the research I need to do? Can I look into, if you're closer to this, if you know it, my fear of judgment, my fear of rejection? Can I look into that and explore where that comes from? Because I want to have a partner in my life. I deserve to have a partner in my life. But if we're not willing to walk through that hallway of risk, how are we going to get to the other side? So, risk taking, good risk, calculated risk, reasonable risk is like a muscle. It's a muscle that has to be exercised, or else what? It atrophies. And then, the longer we go without using it, the harder it is to muster it up. So we want to be stalkers of these patterns. Examine and self-reflect. So the next time you want to clean out a junk drawer, ask yourself, could I be using this behavior to avoid doing what it is I need to do? Am I avoiding showing up for myself in the way that I know I'm meant to, in a way that would bring me joy? Right? Thanks, Michelle, agreeing. Yeah. So self-sabotage. Where am I not giving myself a chance? Where is the red carpet laid out right in front of me and I'm going through the back door, through the basement and trying to find my way? You deserve to be on that red carpet. You deserve to shine in the role of lead performer in your life. You're the performer, you're the director, you're the grip, you're the camera person. And if guided by self-respect and self-love that comes from knowing who you are, not who you think you are, but who you really are, a person in the divine, a person with unlimited capability within you. Again, I often say the very thing that keeps the planets that we saw the other night in the galaxy, the very thing that keeps those going, that keeps the earth rotating, that keeps the blades of grass growing and babies born, is the exact same potentiality that exists within each of us. But then when we play small and we say, yeah, but I'm afraid that, so-and-so and so-and-so are doing better than I am. I'm afraid that they'll judge me. Guess what? They will judge you. If you step out and expose yourself, people will judge you. And let me ask you this. Do you think you judge other people? I mean, I think until and unless we really, really, really practice and work at it, I think most of us do. Now, it doesn't help anybody. And of course, if we do judge other people, I'll bet you anything we judge ourselves most harshly. So it doesn't pay to judge. It pays to work on these judgments. You're really born out of fear. Comparison, paranoia is born out of fear. So the next time you come up against a junk drawer, ask yourself or remind yourself, what are my core values and goals? I find that that's not the easiest question for people to answer. It's really very good. It's a very rich question. And if you have trouble, Google core values. And what you will discover is a list of values that could help you get in touch and embrace and claim values that you want. And you may find, oh, wow, I thought that was my value, but I don't really live my value. Do I want to live my value more? Usually it's a good feeling because you're in alignment and you're allowing the flow. So another question to ask is, if I were to guess, what unconscious fears or motivations might be driving this behavior? Try not to believe everything you think of the excuses. I just ran out of time. Oh, I'm not that sort of person, or that's meant for other people, or it just comes more naturally to other people. I mean, even if that's true, look beneath that, because those are just smokescreen rationalizations for your fear. That's the language of the unconscious. And I promise you this. I promise you this. If you identify what your fear is and you can trace who put that in your head and when it got into your head, you can then challenge that. Oh, that's what I learned when I was 8. Well, you're not 8. And you're not your parents. And your parents were probably well-meaning but flawed people. So you can take that 5-year-old lesson and put it through the maze of your intelligence and your wisdom and see what comes out. See if you can define yourself more on your own terms. So, what's holding me back? What would it look like if I aligned my choices with my desired goals? So these are different ways of getting at the same core issue. It's time to stop hovering on the surface. It's time to go deeper with ourselves and improve our relationship with ourselves. The relationship we have with ourselves is the most important one we'll have. When we wake up at 2 a.m. and we're in our head and have those scary thoughts, who else is in there? Nobody. It's the relationship, the trust we have with ourselves. Okay. Let's go again. Just Judy. I once told my doctor I wanted to live a long life. She said, "Do you really?" It was a challenging question. I had to look at my negative behaviors that might prevent me from living a long life. That's true. You want to live a long life, right? Those of us who do, we have to do things to support that goal. But there's a perfectly realistic, like day-to-day example of when we can go, what am I doing? What am I doing? All right. Janine says to Judy, Judy, it's great you use that opportunity to examine your behavior instead of getting defensive. Oh, that's the other thing. Thank you, Janine. That's so true. How often, because maybe we're a little ashamed, which we shouldn't be, but of course we are, because we say, what's wrong with me? And then if somebody points it out or makes us question it, we can run away because we feel a little embarrassed. And Janine, you're right. Judy, we're so glad you didn't. You took the question and you went in, and I think you got somewhere with it. So, Leandra, thank you for these suggestions. Very helpful. Oh, you're welcome. You're most welcome. Okay. So, I'm going to take a quick question that came in this morning. Let me see if I can quickly pull it up. It kind of gets at what we were saying here. Let me know if you think honestly that you can take what we're talking about here into your life, as in tomorrow morning, and begin to apply this. Oh, Joshua. Hi, Joshua. Welcome. Good to meet you here. I've been taking notes. These are great thoughts and strategies. Well, thank you, Joshua. You just answered my question. How does this land with everybody? All right, question. Question from Marco. I've been offered a promotion at work, but I'm not sure if I should take it. I'm afraid of being seen as, quote, too egotistical, too big for my britches, as my dad would say often about me, or that I'll lose friends and colleagues. How can I make a decision that's right for me? Offered a promotion, not sure if I should take it. Why? Not because he's not saying because I don't know if I'm qualified. He's not even saying I have imposter syndrome. He's saying judgment. I'm afraid of being seen as too egotistical, too big for my britches, as my dad would say, hint, hint, as he would often say about me. or that I will lose friends and colleagues. How can I make a decision that's right for me? Well, I think your beacon is the last part of your question, Marco, which is a decision that's right for me. You know, oftentimes I hear people say, when someone says, "Oh, I'm afraid people will judge me," I hear a common response as, "No, they're not. People are too busy to be judging you. People have their own lives to think about. They're not looking at you." Well, I don't know about that. I think we live in a pretty judgmental world. But what I say to that is, how much are you going to let that run you? And who's judging you anyway? Brene Brown, daring greatly. People who sit on the sidelines. It's the people who sit on that bench. Boy, that bench is home to know-it-alls and people who think at times they are big players and they know just how to do it. But they're oftentimes not on the field. They're on the bench or in the dugout. So you have to decide, Marco, are you going to let these judgments stop you from doing what is right for you? Because people will judge you. And to that I say, if you're Mel Robbins, you say, let them. If you're Catherine Duca, you say, so what? So what? Get past it. Let's all support one another in taking the risk, in being bigger than the judgments we're worried about. Because how are we going to get to the red carpet without it? And look, judgments, they can sting a little bit, but what are they? People's opinions, The more rooted, I believe this, the more rooted we are in knowing we are love and we're not perfect beings and we are works in progress and we are doing the best we can with self-respect and respect of others, then you make your orbit a place of love and acceptance and gentleness. And yes, you have opinions. It's important to have opinions. Not being in judgment doesn't mean, you go deaf or, on your own opinions. But your opinions will have less of an agenda behind them. So that could be a whole show. So to Marco, I say, be in contemplation of what's right for you. Does this new position stimulate you? Does it allow you to use your gifts and your talents? And if your dad told you you were too big for your britches when you were younger, maybe you demonstrated curiosity. Maybe you took chances to learn something different. Maybe you tried something and failed. And your dad, trying to help you, said, "Oh, son, you're too big for those britches." Bless your dad and take the wheel now as an adult. And if this promotion is in your interests, consider allowing yourself to go for it. And after that, allow the judgments to roll off as best you can. And you know what? You may find this, that there are more people who support your promotion and who are happy that you went for it. And if they're not, it might be because, this can go on and on and on. It might be because they would like to go for a promotion, but they have fear of failure or fear of success, and they don't want to be judged by you because to them, you're the other person. So, we're all just doing the best we can with what we have. Let's not glorify or magnify, I think is the word I prefer, people's judgments. They're just opinions. Stand in your own power, my friends. stand in your own power. So let's make it a let's all stand in our own power. And so in this cross conversation here where you're supporting each other, this is a template for what we can do outside with one another. So I hope this was a wickedly constructive conversation. I hope you're not in the dune somewhere. And I hope if this was a conclave, it was a good one. All right, I'll stop there. Dear listeners, wide receivers, red carpet walkers, I wish you well tonight. Thank you so much for joining me. You honor me, giving me this time. Be well. Have a good night's sleep. Keep the challenges on the back burner for tomorrow. They'll be there. You are loved and you are love. Take it on the road. All right. I'll meet you here next week. Thank you so much. You've been listening to Who Do You Think You Are? I'm Catherine Duca, and you've been tuning into this wonderful network, New Thought Media Network. I look forward to seeing you next week. Good night.